premise of what we are going to do. And then we'll get your thoughts on our thoughts at 301-230-0980. We are going to take every Commanders defensive player, and we are going to put them through the Craig and Anthony ratings ringer. I just came up with that. Anthony, do we like the name? The ratings ringer.
Yeah, we can go with that.
Okay, excellent. So we're going to put them through the ratings ringer, where we say what each player we thought they would be at the beginning of the season in a Madden rating style, and then we see what we think they are now based off of their play and performance so far, and an effort to discover if we overrated the talent on this defense. Let's start up front with the big guys who have the big ratings numbers, I would say. And let's start with Montez. What did we think that Montez was to start the season?
Probably like an 84, 85, somewhere.
I would have put him higher. I would have said he's like an 87, 88.
Okay.
I would have, but the thing is, like, he hasn't changed much for me.
Yeah.
To me, Montez has been Montez. Maybe you're right. Maybe instead of an 88, he's actually like an 86.
Yeah. I mean, I just think in Matt, it's so hard to, like, the closer you are to 90, 91, like, that means you're really, really, really a bona fide superstar.
That's true. That's true. He's just so solid. But, like...
That's why I have him 84, 85. Like, solid, you know?
I'm gonna say he's an 86.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I probably had him at 88, 86. So there's a -2. But he could probably walk in. Or if he walked in here, I'd be like, Montez, you're a 99. That's a large man. I would not fight with Montez Sweat. But, like, Montez is what I thought he was. You were hoping maybe he could make some kind of superstar leap. He hasn't done that. But he is essentially what I thought he's been. Deron Payne. Beginning of the year, low 90s something? Or would you not go quite that high?
I would say Deron is probably like an 88, 89. Maybe a 90.
Yeah.
I would say 90.
I would say 90. And to be honest, he's been pretty close to that.
Yeah.
So, Deron, we're 2 for 2 on guys that we thought were awesome. Okay, cool. John Allen.
92, 93.
And I think he's probably closer to 89, 90.
Oh, that he's played so far. Oh,
so,
yeah.
before the year, it's like, oh, is John Allen a 94?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. He's probably like 92, 93. And turns out, like, he's kind of the same player as Deron Payne, which is a really, really good player. But I also do have questions about whether John is, one, how is John adjusting to playing with Chase Young? But two, like, how much does that foot bothering him?
Yeah.
He hasn't been thoroughly dominant. All right, the one guy that I think is probably getting a slight boost is Chase.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are like, oh, he's an 81. Something like that.
I would have probably said...
What do you think people would have thought at the beginning of the year?
Probably like an 83.
83? I think that's fair.
Somewhere around there.
He's like an 87.
Yeah, Chase is 87, 88.
Like his win percentage, he's got some, like his awareness is down a little bit. Like that's dragging him down. But his power, his speed, his explosiveness, all that stuff's way better than people thought.
Yep.
He's winning at an outrageous, like he's one of the best pass rushers in the league win rate
his win rate. Yep.
Now, again, as we've said before, sometimes those win rates are coming at the expense of good team defense. But, like, it's hard to argue when the guy's this dominant. And he is, like, doing it to good tackles.
Yep.
Like, everyone in New York right now wants to kill Evan Neal because he made a bunch of dumb comments and he stinks at playing NFL tackle.
Yep.
When Chase Young gets a hold of him,
you better hope he doesn't line up on that side.
Yeah. Well, it's not like Montez is some treat.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. They're in I guess normally he lines up over the left tackle, which is Andrew Thomas, who's now also out.
Yeah.
So, God, that Giants game is scary. Like for both teams. If I'm both teams, I go into that game being like, this is going to be bad for us.
Yep.
Wink blitzes all the time.
Yeah, he does.
They don't do well with blitzes here.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we got a couple weeks still. We got to worry about that. All right. So the line, not quite as good as we thought.
I think if you just look at the defense as a whole, the line has played the best.
For sure.
Not to say that the production hasn't been there or that they couldn't be doing more, but yeah.
But like that's kind of the thing is like they have not been like individually, you're like, all right, that guy's playing pretty good. And like, this is also where the limits of like where production meets like what a coach grade would be are different because they have largely done a lot of what they're supposed to do. They've largely kept these mobile quarterbacks in the pocket. You know, like some of the stuff that happened in the Bills game, you just toss your hands up and go like, it's Josh freaking Allen, man. Like, what do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
Dude's falling backwards, throwing off his back foot, and he hands the ball to Stephon Diggs 45 yards down the field. Like, the hell you want me to do? But they largely, like, they just haven't gotten enough pressure. And then I do wonder if maybe we're a little too high on them still in some of those with some of the run defense. That is one area where, like, if you want to take John down and take Duran down potentially, like, there's been some gashes inside. And now it's hard because are they doing what they're supposed to and then Cody is not filling or Jamin's not filling? Or is there too much space because those guys aren't doing what they need to do inside? Like, that's where it gets really hard to evaluate and some of this stuff gets muddy and we need someone that, like, has enough time to study the all-22 all day and that's what they do.
Yeah.
Like Logan Paulson. Which, good thing I'm doing a tape podcast with Logan tomorrow. Which, of course, some of which will play here on the show. But, like, that's where we are there. I think it's the back seven. I don't think we need to really do, like, James, Casey. Those guys haven't played a ton.
Yeah.
Which I think is another problem. But whatever. Like, big John Ridgeway. Like, John Ridgeway is John Ridgeway. Cool. Got it. Second level.
Our two
Jamin,
linebackers.
What do we think Jamin was before the year? What has Jamin been?
I would say Jamin before the year maybe 77, 76, somewhere around there. But I would say he's played at about an 80.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think he's been the best linebacker that's been on the field. And, you know, the fact Cole has played substantially more. He's actually played every snap is a little telling as well.
Hold on, Cole, you're talking about Cole in Pittsburgh or
No,
Cody?
Cody,
Here.
my bad. I said Cole. I meant to say Cody. Yeah.
Yeah, all those white linebackers just look the same.
Nah, their names are sort of kind of the same. Cole, Cody.
Yeah.
Not too far off.
If I was Cole Holcomb, I think this defense would be better, but that's a different story. Yeah, I think Jamin's one of the guys that I was talking about earlier. Like, Jamin's been better than people, like, been better than I think they thought he would be, which is weird because I watched him at the end of last year and went, that dude's a good football player now. I would have had Jamin in the high 70s, low 80s, and that's exactly where he's been. But I think by and large, people, Commanders Universe, would probably have had him at 76, 75, and he's played at like a 79, 80 level. Jamin Davis, good football player. Cody Barton, on the other hand, maybe comes in, he's like a 76, 77, people would think.
Yeah, maybe a 70. Yes, 75.
Yeah. He's played at like a 67, 68 level.
Yep.
That's a big drop off. Like if you're in Madden and you get one of your guys gets hurt and it's like substitute, keep or sub. If the backup is that much worse and the injury risk isn't really high, you just keep your guy in. That's a big drop off. Big drop off. And nobody else is really playing at linebacker, which is also something that I would not have predicted at the beginning of the year. I would have guessed you would see some Khalil Hudson snaps. I would have guessed we'd seen some David Mayo snaps. We haven't. And I kind of wonder if that's coming, too, potentially. That's like another option that they haven't really, we all want to slide Jamin in, put Khalil in at will, and go from there. But, like, they could just put David Mayo at middle linebacker, and at least the run defense would get better. You had some other issues, but, like, he's pretty freaking good at that part of the game. Okay, so then you get to the secondary. And this is where I think things go sideways. Really sideways. And instead of rushing it, Anthony, I say we take a quick break, come back and get into it. And just, potentially unleash a couple of screams, a couple of yells, a couple of Yeah. So we'll do that next, and then we'll get into the calls. 301-230-0980. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live as well on that free Odyssey app. We're trying to figure out if we just overrated the talent on this Commanders defense. Like, there are coaching things, and there are schematic things, and there are guys not playing up to their talent. And I think that is all important to mention. But at the end of the day, like, holy smokes, did we just miss? And more importantly, did they just miss? Did the Commanders and Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew and Marty Herney overrate their own talent defensively? So what we're doing, if you're just joining us, is we're taking a look back at what we thought at the beginning of the season and what these guys have played up to now in the form of Madden ratings, because that's an easily digestible way to certainly one that Anthony and I can put a number on. But really, it's like, how good are they 1 to 100? But really, I guess it's not really 1 to 100, but it's like, I mean, it is, but it isn't. Nobody's a 0. I guess you and I, Anthony, as NFL players, we're like 4s.
Yeah, maybe a 5.
I think you might get to a 7. You're pretty fast.
Speed can only do so much in the game of football.
Yeah, that's why you're like a 7.
Okay, that's
not. It's not like I'm making you. I mean, at least the long snappers are like 30-somethings. That's a dirty trick they play.
Yeah.
They just call them tight. They didn't even bother creating long snappers. Just tight end, 34. Hey, you should cut this player. Like, no, that's my long snapper.
Yeah, that's brutal.
There's a joke somewhere about the long snapping situation this year. Anyway, we're just gonna skip over it. So we did the linebackers. We did the defensive line. Let's get to the secondary. Kendall Fuller is the one guy who's played pretty well back there. PFF had him on their all-pro team through 4 games. He obviously gives up a touchdown in game number 5 on what is a perfectly thrown ball by Justin Fields, but one he could have played slightly better, and then there's no window to throw at all. That is the nature of playing cornerback. But I think most people coming into the year would have said Kendall Fuller's 82, 83, somewhere in there, Madden rating?
Yeah. 80, yeah, 83, 80, somewhere around there.
Yeah, like he's not better than that. He's not a shutdown, lockdown playmaker, but he's definitely not worse than that either.
Nope.
So I think that's what he's been.
I agree. I don't think he's been any better. He's just consistent.
Mr. Consistency, yes. Kendall Fuller.
He's been consistent.
Which brings us to the problem children, if you will.
Uh-oh.
And I'm not saying this to be flippant about this. I respect all these men and their professionalism and all those kinds of things. Insert caveats of being nice and human here. And then let's get to the analysis. And let's start with Cam Curl. Because I think coming into the year, a lot of people wanted to point to the PFF, like he's the second best safety in the league last year on PFF. He wants the big contract. He's definitely great, and think like this dude's an 89, 90 right now. Fair? Like coming into the year?
Coming into the year, I would say, like an 88, 89.
People like really thought he was that. Let's say 88.
Okay.
I think Cam Curl's 84, 85 at best.
Yeah.
And you could make an argument that he's really closer to the Kendall Fuller 82, 83.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Again, I feel like, Cam is usually always in position for a lot of, plays, but, players still find ways to, make some of those contested catches over him. Like sometimes he's a finger away from, a deflection, or, he ends up dropping an interception. And those are the things that we need if you're going to be a 90, a 91, if you're going to be compared to the Buda Bakers of the world, the Derwin James. Those are the guys that take away the ball. Those are the guys that are getting paid. So if you want to be in that territory, you got to be able to make those plays. And he's simply, come up short a little bit. Through
and
5
also
games.
like his tackling number, if we're going to do it like pure Madden rating style,
Yep.
His tackling number this year would bring his rating way down. Like he does not finish plays as a tackler, and that's the sack on Josh Allen. It's some of the open field stuff that happened in that Bills game and some of these other games. Like he has not been a last line of defense that is worthy of that high of a grade. And when we talk about like this defense not playing to its potential, being able to keep things in front, like those plays matter a lot. And also if you're going to be one of the key blitzers on this team, you got to get home. And he hasn't gotten home on those blitzes. And the one time he really got home, he didn't finish it. He ran right past Josh Allen because Josh Allen's really hard to bring down. And like, that's why Josh Allen is in the actual 99 club.
Yes.
So I would say, Cam, you're talking about a 3-4 point drop off.
I would agree.
Versus expectations.
I would definitely agree.
All right, Derek Forrest.
Derek Forrest probably came to the season 81, 82. Again, he was getting a lot of high praise last year in November after we beat the Eagles. And it's primarily because him and Cam, they just work so well as a duo. Everything fell off the rails in December. So don't really want to mention that. But we had high expectations for Derek Forrest coming off a season where he was sort of kind of splitting time with Bobby McCain in the high post. But when he wasn't, he was really making a lot of splash plays. And, yeah, so coming into the season, probably like an 82.
Yeah. I would say even higher.
Okay.
I think people had him. And, like, let's also be real. Like, this isn't a knock on other people completely.
Yeah.
This is a knock on us, too. Like, we were out of training camp. They looked – I mean, Logan and I talked about this the other day. It's mystifying, the secondary, because these guys were great during camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were really communicating well. They passed things off, and then you get out there and, you all of a sudden you got to tackle someone, and it's not going as well. And Forrest, instead of being like an 80, I would say an 80. Like, would you have said before the season, Derek Forrest or Kendall Fuller, better player?
Derek Forrest or Kendall Fuller?
Yeah.
I would probably say Kendall Fuller with Derek Forrest having the more upside. Like,
yeah.
So
if that's the case, and we're saying Kendall is an 83 who's played like an 83, then Defoe's an 82, 81, who's played like a 77.
Yeah. Yep. And he's been out of position, missing some of those key tackles. You talked about the last line of defense. Those are our two guys, Craig. Those two guys right there.
Yeah.
So
it's not good. And then that leaves Emmanuel Forbes. Well, I guess we could do Percy Butler too. Percy's played a lot.
Or BSJ.
Oh, I guess we have BSJ too.
Yeah.
So let's go Percy quickly.
Okay.
Percy's a guy that I think a lot of people thought was like a 77, who's played like a 71.
Yep.
And that's probably part of the reason why he hasn't played a lot, but he's about to play a lot, because if you're also just tuning in and you missed the news earlier, Derek Forrest just went on IR, and so did Jeremy Reeves, who's one of his key backups, who, by the way, for some reason isn't on the field at all defensively. So Percy, I would have told you, like, that dude's like a 77 with upside, and, could he turn into an 80 eventually? Yeah, maybe. But he's played like a replacement level player.
Yeah. And I would say, again, you talked about us being out at training camp, us being able to see the preseason. Percy flashed a little bit, his speed,
For sure.
him being able to come down and make open field tackles, travel sideline to sideline. That, shocked everybody in the preseason. Then, the regular season rolls around. It's just more so we're not capitalizing on what we saw in the preseason and building off of what we also did last year.
Right. So that leaves BSJ and then Forbes. And Forbes is obviously the one we're kind of saving for last year, because there's a lot to say on Emmanuel Forbes. BSJ, I don't know. Let's use the Kendall Fuller test. Better player, Kendall Fuller, BSJ going into the year.
Probably slight edge to Kendall.
I would have said slight edge to BSJ.
Slight.
Like 84.
Okay.
Let's say they're the same.
Yeah.
83. How do we think BSJ's played this year?
Yeah.
80, 81?
Yeah, because he hasn't really been impactful, to be honest.
I mean, he made the 2-point conversion against Denver.
Yeah.
So that's a big play. On that play, he very easily could have gotten called for PI. It seems like every time he makes a big play, it could have easily been called for PI.
Yep.
He has been called for PI. He's just a very physical corner, and that's who he is. But there have been some misses, and I would say he's not like a big drop off though, like 80, somewhere between 80 and 82.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing a new position. He's playing in the slot. I mean, he's done solid. When matched up, he had Devontae Smith for majority of the game against the Eagles. Didn't give up too much to him.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just hasn't been a lot of impact.
No, it has felt like he has been fairly quiet this year.
I would say
but like that is also one of the issues with Benjamin St-Juste. This is a guy who has 0 career interceptions, college or pro.
Yeah.
It's crazy for like a pretty involved corner. And that gets us to Emmanuel Forbes. What do we think he was coming in the year?
Probably coming into the season, second corner taken off the board.
Third, but
third behind Gonzalez.
And Witherspoon, yeah.
I would probably say maybe a 76, 77.
I would have said 78, 79 coming into the
Okay.
year. Like his ball skills, and especially coming out of training camp.
Yeah.
Because there were some signs in training camp, but like it's hard to tell when it's training camp style. And like if you're kind of there, you just assume that guy will make the play. And then all of a sudden it's like time to tackle DJ Moore. Oh crap. He can't make the play.
Yep.
Or like you get really game level physical and you see that like this dude is getting thrown all over the place. That he's not like the weight is an issue because he hasn't figured out how to play at his size yet. He did have the interception against Denver. Yeah. Denver, Arizona.
Yeah. He had an interception against Denver.
So he has the interception. He's got the fourth down against Arizona, I think, or maybe it was that was Denver too. Where he's got the fourth down play that like he's shown some good things, but like the awareness level is, and obviously the last two games giving up these big plays, like it's not there yet. And so we're talking a guy that was 78, 79, getting dropped down to like a 72, 73. And that's an okay place for a rookie to be, but not a first rounder that you're anticipating playing.
Yeah, I would agree. Dropped off a little. But also, I think he's had some opportunities where he's had his hand on the ball and hasn't fully capitalized. And that's what we draft you for. I think also with Forbes, just like, with Trayvon Diggs, like there's going to be a lot that you give up because they are two people that love to gamble. Against DJ Moore, he gambled, didn't tackle him, and, he ends up giving up the big play. Against AJ Brown, out of position, giving up some stuff. So I think that's the risk reward that's gonna come with Forbes. But when he's had those opportunities and he's had his hand on the ball, you got to come down with it. Even at the end of the Denver game, like the ball went straight through his hands, like straight through his hands. If you go look at the replay,
the Hail Mary, yeah,
like it goes straight through his hands. Against AJ Brown, it goes straight through his hands. So it's just like we need some of those takeaways because that's what we drafted you.
That is, and that gets to the questions of like how much of this is on the players, how much is the coaches putting these guys in positions to be successful. Like these are the questions, but I think it's pretty clear that like some of the answer is simply these players are not as good at NFL football as we thought they were. And it's not, again, like Anthony and I having second thoughts about that or coming to that realization is one thing. It's our job to like come to that realization and give you that analysis in the middle of the season. It's the coaches and GM and front office's job to make sure that we never have that realization because it's not a thing that we're worried about. They got a lot more information than us in the offseason, especially. So now what? 301-230-0980. We'll take some of your calls next. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live as well on the free Odyssey app.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.